Welcome back to Kippi's Quest. This week I wanted to talk about my favourite tarot decks. Now I'm doing things a little bit differently this week because I haven't written a script and I'm not reading from an auto cue. I'm just kind of having a bit of a chinwag with you, which is the first time that I've tried anything like that. So I'm a little bit nervous, palms are sweaty, mum's spaghetti, but I'm sure it'll be absolutely fine. Hopefully. I found myself working abroad recently, so I haven't had as much time as normal to get a video ready, but I still wanted to put something out, so I thought this might be a good opportunity to try something new. Also, I'm starting my membership and Patreon sites quite soon. I know I've been saying that forever, but I am going to be doing that. And this is more like the kind of content that I'll be putting over there. So less scripted, less edited, more sort of behind the scenesy. So I thought, great, this is a nice opportunity to try that out, and we'll see how it goes. Now, if you've come to see the Fool and Monty, I'm afraid they're on their summer holidays this week. Monty is in Rome for a cultural and historical sightseeing trip, and the Fool is in Norfolk for the annual Turnip Enthusiast Convention. But fear not, they will return. We'll be getting them back as soon as possible. Now, this isn't the kind of video where I'm going to be talking about lots of different versions of the same deck. If you've ever read any of Barbara Moore's books, she shows a lot of different tarot decks, like the Manga Tarot, the Cat Tarot, the Happy Tarot, and they're all absolutely stunning. I mean, they're beautiful to look at and just wonderful, but they all seem to be based loosely on the Waite-Smith deck. What I'm doing here is I'm talking about the kind of decks that I use and that I collect for esoteric and historical purposes. So with that out of the way, let's have a look at these decks. I hope I said that properly. So first of all, we've got the Waite-Smith deck, and just look at the state of this box. It is battered. I must have brought 10 copies of this deck and given them away to people, but this is the original deck that I brought about 15 years ago, and it's been through a lot. It's been through a lot with me over the years. I'm going to put some B-roll up here somewhere so that you can see what I'm talking about. So this being the original Rider-Waite deck means that it has all the original colour scheme, and that's very important. This is the different colour scales that they use are very important, and it's, you know, it means a lot to people that they are reproduced as accurately as possible. And my understanding is that is where you get that. You get that on the original. You get that on the original Rider-Waite deck. I've just got the minor arcana in here because I keep the major arcana separate for my rituals. I perform rituals every Sunday, the Lesser Banishing Ritual of the Pentagram, the Middle Pillar at least, and then whatever other rituals that I'm incorporating into that. So I always keep the major arcana on my altar so that I can draw a card as part of my ritual practice, which is over there. Now I've also got my other decks, my other Waite-Smith decks. I own 3 copies altogether. This one's my favourite. This is the one that I use for reading, and I got this one from Etsy. I can't remember exactly the name of the person that is selling it on Etsy, but if I can find out, I'll put a link in the description. Not the box. The box doesn't come with the deck. That's just me being a tart. This is the Dark Forest Tarot deck. From Etsy, so it's a complete reproduction of the Waite-Smith deck, but as you can see, it's a lot darker and it's got that vintage look about it, which I absolutely love. The sort of aged look when it comes to this sort of thing. Just every part of this deck absolutely speaks to me. It's wonderful. But apart from that, it is all of the images are exactly as Pixie painted them for the Waite-Smith deck. So I'll pop that back in there. Now another deck that I have is this one. This is my travel deck. So this is the one that I take away with me. So when I was working abroad, this deck came with me and got me into a bit of trouble at customs, at security at the airport, because they weren't sure what it was. When my bag went through, they asked me if I'd got business cards. And I was like, business cards? I'm not sure what you mean. And then they pulled this out, and then that, obviously we knew what it was then. So don't put tarot decks in your carry-on luggage because it'll confuse the system, at least if you're in the UK. So this is the Radiant Wise Spirit tarot deck from Lo Scarabeo, beautifully presented in a really nice box. And this is that's just what you want to see on top, isn't it? Fantastic. This is similar to the Dark Forest deck in the fact that the colours are a little bit more muted. Oops daisy. The colours are a little bit more muted than what we find on some of the other decks. This is the Radiant Wise Spirit and not the Radiant. That's a different deck. That one's a lot more colourful. A little bit too colourful for me. I found that deck to be a bit too cheerful for my liking. I don't know. Maybe I'm just a very dark soul. But this is this is a deck that I really like, the way that it's been reproduced. So obviously you're not getting the accuracy of the colour scales that you're getting with the original Waite-Smith deck, but it's just very pleasing to look at, I think. I like it a lot. Pop that over there. So that is the original Rider-Waite deck, conceived by A.E. Waite, and we've got Pixie on there as well, which is great because it was a long time before Pamela Coleman Smith's name actually made it onto the cards. So it's good to see that that's there now. And there we go. Yeah, my favourite tarot deck. Next up, we've got the Thoth Tarot from Aleister Crowley. Now, this is a deck that when I first saw it, I found the images to be a little bit too abstract. I'd just gotten used to the Waite-Smith deck and the way Pixie had designed all of certainly the minor arcana cards with images that I found were instantly relatable. So I warmed to that deck straight away. I found the Thoth deck to be a little bit too abstract at first, but then later on, when I started studying it, I absolutely fell in love with this deck. The images are just wonderful. So this was conceived by Aleister Crowley and painted by Lady Freda Harris over a period of 5 years. It took a long time for this deck to come out. She produced over 100 images for this. The Waite-Smith was actually finished in 6 months, which is astonishing when you think that Pixie managed to create 78 individual pieces of art that have had that much impact in the space of 6 months. This deck took a lot longer. There was a lot more to-ing and fro-ing in terms of this deck. The way I see it, if the Waite-Smith deck was a flash of inspiration, then this deck was a labour of love, I think. Just wonderful images. All of the correspondences are there. We've got the zodiac symbols, the planets. Again, a lot of attention has been paid to the colour grading and the colour system that's used here. But I wish I'd talked about this deck when I was doing my videos for the major arcana, because I didn't start mentioning the Thoth deck until I got to the minors, and I regret that now. So I think one day I will make a video just about the Thoth deck itself, because it's wonderful. Now, I've started using this deck for reading, which is unusual up until now. I only ever used the Waite-Smith deck when I was reading, but I've become comfortable enough with the Thoth deck that I've started doing readings with this as well now, and it's great. It works fantastically. So even, I've said this before, but even if you are a staunch Waite-Smith deck user, if you've got any kind of interest in deepening your knowledge, then the Thoth deck is definitely the way to go. The Book of Thoth, which goes with it, is an incredible piece of work in terms of deepening your understanding of ritual magic and the occult, but it can be a little bit dense and difficult to follow, like many other books of that time. But then Lon-Marlowe Duquette brought out the Understanding Aleister Crowley's Thoth Tarot, which just completely blew all the fog away for me and helped me to make sense of it. So, you know, this deck with those two books, I would highly recommend to anyone. It's certainly earned its place. So that is Aleister Crowley's Thoth Tarot. Next up, we've got another deck that I found really difficult to get hold of until recently. This is the Tarot of Ceremonial Magick by Lon-Marlowe Duquette. Here, this has got to be the most the densest in terms of the amount of information that has been put on there, it's staggering, quite honestly, how much information we've got. Straight out of the bat, we've got a card on top that shows you the position of all of the cards on the Kabbalistic Tree of Life. And that kind of gives you a clue as to where we're going with this, because correspondences are a huge part of this deck. We've got every kind of correspondence that you could imagine included in these cards. We've obviously got the zodiac and the planets like we saw with the Thoth deck, but we've got Enochian magic, we've got the angels of the Shem Hamafaresh, we've got the Goetic symbols, we've got, so that's the day spirits of the Goetia, the night spirits of the Goetia. We've got I Ching coming up on some of these cards, the dates. It's absolutely astonishing the amount of work that has gone into this. Now, so this was conceived by Lon-Milo DuQuette and painted by his wife, Constance DuQuette. And I find the images really charming. They're sort of, in a way, it's kind of in between, stylistically anyway, in between the Waite-Smith and the Thoth deck, in the sense that I think some of the images are a little bit easier to follow than we find in the Thoth. But yeah, just wonderful, absolutely wonderful deck. And I have now started doing readings with this one as well. I just never would have dreamed of doing something like that as little as a year ago. But here I am now, branching out and trying lots of different decks, and yeah, I'm having a great time with it, you know. I'm just really enjoying myself. But for the sheer number of correspondences that have been included in this deck, it is so worthwhile to get hold of if you really want to deepen your understanding of what's going on. I haven't seen this level of correspondences on anything else. And of course, there is the this doesn't want to close, there we go. Of course, there is the book, and the book is a must when it comes to this deck, because there is just so much going on. You're definitely going to want that book to make sense of it all. The first card that comes out, we've got a little note from Lon, who says, the key that unlocks the secrets of all tarot decks. The tarot is the DNA of the Kabbalah. Properly decoded, it reveals not only the mysteries of the Kabbalah, but also those of astrology, ceremonial magic, and all other Kabbalah-related systems. It is not our intention to lure you away from any tarot deck that you may currently fancy, but to help you understand the incalculable power and significance of whatever deck you may be using. An absolute work of art. So wonderful. So that is the Tarot of Ceremonial Magic by Lon-Milo DuQuette. Next up, we've got the Tarot de Marseille. Of course, I have to have a copy of this. This is one of the most important tarot decks in history. So this is around about where the esoteric stuff started to come about. Now, the version that I've got here, and there are a few versions of this, the version that I've got here comes from the wood cuttings. So that's why some of the images can look a little bit primitive. Now, if we look at later versions of this deck, they're not as primitive, but the way that they've been coloured and presented, they kind of look like images from a children's book. I'm not trying to offend anyone who uses that particular version, but I don't know. This one just seems a little bit more authentic to me, because it's come from the original wood cuttings. That does mean that some of the images are a little bit awkward looking. There's a lot of people who are cross-eyed. In particular, Le Pape is a good example of that. He's kind of, yeah, I don't know where he's looking, but so many of these major arcana images found their way into the Waite-Smith deck. Things like the Hermit is a really good example of that, or L'Ermite, I believe it's pronounced. With his, I mean, you can see right there with his staff and his lantern, that carried straight over to the Waite-Smith. This is Strength, which, again, you know, you can see there, is he opening the lion's mouth or is he closing the lion's mouth? In the Waite-Smith deck, Strength is definitely closing the lion's mouth. There is our Hanged Man. You can see that Patura Infamante thing. This is Death. Arthur Edward Waite wasn't quite so keen on this particular depiction of death. I forget what he called it now, but he said the image of a reaping skeleton was naff, to paraphrase. He said the Waite-Smith version of the card was more fitly represented in the rectified tarot by one of the apocalyptic visions than by the crude notion of a reaping skeleton. There's temperance, pouring the fluids, there's the devil. I always laugh at the devil in the Tarot de Marseille. I think it's one of the least scary things I've ever seen. In this particular one, he hasn't got his tackle out. He's wearing what appear to be underpants, or is that a bathing costume? Budgie smugglers. There's La Maison Dieu, as we know became the Tower. La Maison Dieu translates to the House of God. And we can see there we've got this sort of, it's not a lightning flash in this case, it's looks like wind, but it's obviously some sort of divine supernatural force that's dislodging the crown from the top, and then we've got the people falling down. We've got these bowls, which look a bit like, you know, the ball pits that you get at supermarkets, where you take your toddler while you go and do your shopping. I'm not sure that's what they were trying to reproduce, but there we go, there it is. The star, this again very much carried forward into the Waite-Smith, and so on. The moon is another classic example, and so on and so forth. So I mean, it's such an important deck that it has to have a place in my collection, because without the Tarot de Marseille, I don't think we'd be doing what we're doing right now. That is genuinely what I think. So that is the Tarot de Marseille, and that has been made by Piatnik Vienna. Piatnik? Yeah, Piatnik Vienna. Yeah, that's my preferred version of the Tarot de Marseille. Next up, we've got well, this is where it all started. You know, this is the Visconti-Sforza Tarocchi deck. I don't know whether it's Tarocchini or Tarocchi. I've used both terms. I've got an Italian friend who says that it's Tarocchi, so I think I might say Tarocchi from now on. But this, yeah, the Visconti-Sforza. So this deck is 600 years old. It's the oldest surviving deck that we now know of. We've got various examples of it in different museums all around the world, from New York to Italy. This particular one is put together by US Game Systems, and it has a booklet of instructions by Stuart R. Kaplan, who I think was one of the founders of US Game Systems. But it's a very comprehensive booklet that comes with it. It talks about so many different things. The fact that this particular version likely has different artists for different cards, and there's a whole heap of stuff that you can really get into the weeds with if you read that. This particular deck has the added bonus that it can be used by giants, because it's absolutely huge. Look at that, yeah. So, yeah, I don't really use this for reading, but as an enthusiast and a collector, it's great to have them in that large format, because you can really see what's going on with this particular setup. Now, it's important to note that there are 4 missing cards from the Visconti-Sforza that have never been discovered. Now, the cards are the Devil, the Tower, the 3 of Swords, and the Knight of Coins. So what's happened ever since different publishing companies have started putting these cards out is that they've made a kind of composite version of each card, just so that we can still have a full deck, because we want to be playing with a full deck, don't we? You know, if I'm buying a deck, I want 78 cards, even if they're missing. So what they've done here is, I mean, the Devil's a good example. It's more or less based on the Tarot de Marseille version of the Devil. So here we are, we've got our demon standing there, and our 2 characters underneath who are bound to this thing that the Devil's standing on. And that's come straight from the Tarot de Marseille, which didn't appear until 200 years later. But they've presented it in such a way to try and keep it in keeping with the Visconti-Sforza sort of vibe. The same thing with the Tower. You know, we've got this kind of supernatural force that's blowing the top off. It's not a crown in this case, but it's still golden. Looks a bit like a sort of Chinese temple or something like that, but I don't know. Maybe that's my imagination. The people falling down. The 3 of Swords, all they've really done with this one is add another sword to the 2 of Swords. which I could have done on Photoshop. So that one's fine. I mean, that's pretty easy. It'd be very difficult to get that one wrong. And then finally, for the Knight of Coins, they've pretty much just taken the page of coins and put them on a horse, which gives us the Knight of Coins. And in that way, we then get a full tarot deck, which is what we want, of course. Yep, so that is beautifully presented. I mean, I wish all my tarot decks came like that. It's so nicely boxed up. But that is the Visconti-Sforza by US Game Systems. Next up, we've got a deck that I was complaining about in one of my videos because it's rather expensive. If you go back, you'll see me lamenting the fact that this one cost £40. But when it arrived, I could kind of see why. I mean, this is above and beyond what you would expect in terms of packaging. I wish I'd done an unboxing of this because it's fantastic. So this is the Sola Busca Tarot from Lo Scarabeo. Lo Scarabeo always does a great job of presenting their tarot decks, but this one's next level. Now in here we've got a booklet in half a dozen different languages that talks us through. It's a very important booklet, this one, because it talks us through a lot of the characters that are in the cards. If you've seen the Sola Busca, or if you've seen any of my videos, you'll know that the Sola Busca was the first deck to have all of the minor arcana illustrated rather than the geometric patterns that we saw on the Visconti-Sforza. And there's a lot of characters from Greek and Roman history. So this book is invaluable because it tells you who they are. It also tells you what the Latin phrases are that appear on the cards as well. Really nicely put together, absolutely invaluable in this sense, the booklet that comes with it. And then we've got the cards themselves, which you can see are pretty large. Not quite as big as the Visconti-Sforza, but they're a good old size. Yeah, a little bit bigger than average. What always amazes me about the Sforza cards is the way that they are so beautifully painted. For a deck that's almost 600 years old, if we look at just the shading and the detail that's gone into them. With the Visconti-Sforza, they went more so with sort of using gold leaf and trying to make them look kind of luxurious, whereas the Sola Busca, all of the effort went into the artwork. The way that they're painted, they're absolutely stunning. Some unusual images. A lot of people with their trousers down. Not entirely sure what the full sort of I don't know. Now, if we look here at the swords, I know I always talk about this, but this is clearly where Pamela Coleman-Smith got her inspiration to paint the Waite-Smith with all of the images for the minor arcana. In particular, the Three of Swords there, we can see that as a direct descendant. But also the Ten of Swords, we can see that's very similar to Pamela Coleman-Smith's Ten of Wands. So a massively important deck. There's Queen Olympia, there's Alexander the Great. Yeah, a wonderful deck and absolutely beautifully reproduced by Lo Scarabeo, to the point where I no longer begrudge spending 4 times what I would normally spend on a on a tarot deck. But no, it was worth it, and I'm really glad that I brought it now. So that is the Sola Busca Tarot from Lo Scarabeo. Next up, we've got the Herbal Tarot. This is great. This is a really good deck. So you know that I'm all about the correspondences when it comes to the well, if you've watched any of my videos, you'll know that I'm all about the correspondences. And this is the deck where all of the herbal correspondences came from. Now, again, if you've seen my videos, you'll know that section certainly in all of the minor arcana videos was put together by my friend Ange, who I understand used this deck for, I say that it was put together by Ange. I have to take responsibility for all the crap jokes, unfortunately, but all of the good stuff in those herbal sections was written by Ange and presented by. Now, yeah, my understanding is that Ange used this deck to get the correspondences for that section, along with Aleister Crowley's 777. I don't know if you've seen that. It's like a telephone directory of correspondences. So, I mean, huge thank you to Ange for wading through all that. I believe that's the case. If I've got that wrong, then I'm sure Ange will put me right in the comments. Ange can usually be found in the comments. So if you've got any questions regarding the herbal side of things, then that is Ange is the person to speak to. Because I don't have a clue about any of that kind of stuff. Ange has also got her own Instagram, which I will put somewhere. Well, let's own it. I'm going to put it there. Instagram, Ange, there. It's a beautiful deck. It's the way that they've taken each of the herbs and each of the flowers and incorporated them into the designs. A lot of these are based on the Waite-Smith, but not all of them. Some of them are slightly different. Originally, I thought that this deck had been put together in the 70s. Apparently, it was originally published in 1990, which I'm surprised at because most of the male characters on here do look like characters from 1970s pornographic movies. There's an abundance of moustaches and mullets, and you know, in a lot of cases I feel like, is this person going to tell me my future, or has he come to fix my fridge? We've got Pan for the devil, which I think that's a really nice touch. The tower, there's the tower with the lightning flash and garlic at the bottom. So, you know, bad news if you're a vampire. The suspended person in place of the hanged man. And we've got kelp for that. So the suspended person is actually underwater. Which, well, if you've managed to achieve surrender while you're underwater, well, that's quite an achievement right there, isn't it? I mean, you would think that there would be more pressing things to worry about at a time like that. So that's definitely going above and beyond. Here's the lovers. Parsley for the lovers. Apparently parsley is a powerful aphrodisiac if given in high enough quantities. So there they are with their bare bottoms out, and another fantastic moustache and mullet combo from Adam on the lovers card. But another wonderful deck, and just a different way of looking at it that I really appreciate when it comes to things like this. This is from, it's another one from US Game Systems. So the Herbal Tarot by US Game Systems by Michael Tierra and Candice Cantin. Okay. Now, lastly, I wanted to talk about another tarot deck that this has got nothing to do with esotericism or history or correspondences or any of that kind of shenanigans. It's just very cool. This is the, I've talked about it before, this is the 8-bit fantasy tarot deck. And it's just a complete reproduction of all of the Waite-Smith cards done in an 8-bit style. And it just warms my soul to see this. I grew up in an era of Amigas and Mega Drives and Atari STs and SNESes and that kind of thing, and as soon as I look at this, it just takes me straight back to my childhood. I can almost hear the 8-bit music playing as well. Yeah, it's just fantastic. My good friend John gifted this to me, and he nailed it with this because it's wonderful. I can't quite get over the attention to detail that's gone into it. It's so cool. I just absolutely love it. Look at there's the foal there. I mean, it's it's just brilliant. There's the magician. I absolutely love it. And we also get an extra card in this one called the Dreamland, which I got excited when I saw this because there's a mermaid on it. So I thought, oh, that's the elemental spirit of water. So perhaps they've done all the other elemental spirits as well. Perhaps there's a sylph for air and a gnome for earth and a salamander for fire. But no, it's just this one. But what's interesting is that there's a mermaid on it. Now, if you've seen my Fool's Journey Part 3, you'll know that we've got a mermaid on there, Coral, who goes on to marry the Knight of Cups.
My name's Coral. I live in this moat, and I've got an OnlyFins.
But I got this deck after I'd made that, so that was just an interesting coincidence, a meaningful coincidence, I think Jung would say. But yeah, just so much fun, absolutely brilliant, in square format as well. So we've got this like 1:1 ratio, which is unusual. But yeah, I'm all for it. Count me in. Absolutely brilliant. So that, I do apologise for the noise. I live on a main road. I am moving into a new studio soon, so hopefully things like that won't happen anymore. But yeah, so that's the 8-bit fantasy tarot deck from, well, I don't know who it's from because it doesn't say. There's absolutely nothing on the box to tell you who it's by. There's a QR code which I've checked, and it's got lots of manuals for other tarot decks, but not for this one, so it's a bit of a mystery. But you can find it. I've looked online and you can find it, and it's, yeah, just brilliant for a bit of fun. And it's tiny as well. I mean, look at that. Look at the difference. You know, yeah. If you're going on your holes and you travel light, this is your man. Anyway, the 8-bit fantasy tarot deck by God knows who.
Kippi's Quest. No.
So those are my favourite tarot decks. Just before I finish, there's a couple of things I wanted to talk about. I mentioned the Tarot of Ceremonial Magick, the book for that, which is going to be featured. I'm going to be doing another video on my favourite tarot books, because I've got some new ones that I want to talk about. I've got Holistic Tarot by Venable Wen. I've got a new book from Barbara Moore, a new book from Mary K. Greer, and I am still waiting for The Tarot Architect by Lon Milo Duquette, which I pre-ordered it back in February, and I got a message a couple of weeks ago from Amazon to say, yep, your book's on the way, but it was due to arrive when I was working abroad. So I had to cancel it and then order it again when I came back, which apparently means it's going to take another 2 weeks. So I'm going out of my mind here. I really want this book. But just quickly while I'm on the subject, a friend of mine got in touch with me recently and said, have you read An Accidental Christ by Lon Milo Duquette? I said, no, it's on my list. Bearing in mind, my list is about a mile long. I've got so many books on there at the moment, but I said, no, but I will get to it eventually. And they said, well, you better get a wriggle on because apparently it's going out of print. It's going to be discontinued, so you need to buy it quick. So I went on Amazon and there was one copy left on the UK store, which I snatched up. So I'm just letting you know, if you've come across a copy of this book, buy it, because it's going to become as rare as hen's teeth. So you need to get hold of a copy of this while you can. That said, I just wanted to finish off by doing a little bit of a channel update. So this obviously brings me to the end for now of my tarot content for the time being, because I've spoken a lot about the tarot over the last couple of years, and I'm kind of at the stage now where I feel like I'd like to go away and come back, because there's a lot more things to talk about, but I feel like I need to start discussing something else. And for my own practice as well, you know, this channel is all about me learning about ceremonial magic and all of the different correspondences to do with that. So I feel like I'm about ready to move on to the zodiac now, and to astrology and the planets and all that sort of thing. Now, recently, my videos, I've found that YouTube seems to be favouring longer form content. So I put out a couple of videos recently. One was on spreads, one was on court cards, and they're about twice as long as the videos that I normally put out, and they've been pushed quite a lot harder. They've been the sort of darlings of the algorithm, if you like. So I'm looking to start making much longer form content. The only problem is that does take longer. So I'm going to be moving on to doing one video per month. And the next one will be my introduction to astrology. And from there, I'm going to be working my way through the 12 signs of the zodiac. They're going to be longer videos, about 40 minutes to an hour. So I'm going to be going very in depth with those. But that does mean that they're going to take longer to make. You know, I'm a bit of a perfectionist, and I do like my editing and my animations and things like that. And I don't want to stop doing that. So although they're going to take longer to make, there'll be much longer videos, and I'm really going to sort of get into the weeds with them. So hopefully you can be patient and wait for me to come out with those, because I'm really excited to share them with you. And it'll be refreshing after all this time working through the tarot. It'll be nice to look at something else for a change, and then I can come back to this later on. But I've got all sorts of plans. I want to start talking about rituals and you know, sigils and numerology and all the things that I'm currently learning on this path that I'm on. And of course there's the Patreon and the membership. If you'd like to come and join me over there, like I say, that's going to be a much more stripped down version of Kippi's quest. So if you want to see me pottering about and sort of doddering my way through this spiritual journey, then it would be absolutely wonderful to see you over there. I will update you with that as soon as I know what's going on. And merch. I mean, this is a tarot. This is. Can you see how I'm saying tarot all the time, because I'm so locked into that kind of idiom? And merch, because this is a channel that is crying out for merchandise. So I'll keep you updated on that as well if you're interested in any of that kind of stuff. But thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you on the next video.